Welcome back to this video. This is video 3, and here we want to start adding some styles into this wedding invitation card. Now what we want to do now is to insert another layer. Now look very carefully at the bottom left right corner of the screen. This is the layers panel. We are going to insert a layer in between cut off and the couple. So to insert a new layer, you press on the new layer button at the bottom of this screen. You can see a hand icon pointing to the create a new layer button, and you can see create a new layer showing on the as a hint, create a new layer. So click here to create a new layer. So we have now layer 2 because I've clicked on the new layer button. So this layer 2, I'm going to call it I'll call it tape, T-A-P-E. So I'll right click on layer 2 and click on layer properties. Then instead of layer 2, I type in tape and click on OK. Now looking here, you see that layer 2 has been turned to tape. So the next thing I'm going to do is to come to the left hand side of my screen, and you see that there are two boxes here, one at the front, the other one at the back. This one at the front is regarded to as the foreground color, while the one at the back is regarded to as the background color. So if I click here, I'm setting the background color. If I click here in the front, I'm setting the foreground color. So I'll click here to set the foreground color, and I want my foreground color to be black. So I'll click on black, then come to this place and click on black to give it a perfect black. Then I'll click on OK. Now let's have a look at this position here. You discover that now the foreground color is black and the background color is white. So I'm satisfied with what I have there. You will see the effects of what I just did by the time I start working with this project. Remember, the layer we are in is the tape layer, which is in between the couple and cutoff. So I'm going here to click on the rectangle tool. So I click on the rectangle tool, then I draw a rectangle perfectly, almost perfectly, because I'm not a computer, almost perfectly at the middle of this work. That is the design we have done. So I'm drawing the rectangle, crossing over it at the middle. Then I leave the mouse pointer. Now I have drawn a black rectangle across the image. I've drawn a black rectangle across the image. So that is exactly what I wanted, and that is what has happened. So I'm going to take my shape tool again so that I can continue working with my project. So sorry, this is called the move tool, not shape tool. Shape tool is in CorelDRAW, but in Photoshop we use this one. This is called move tool. So we're going to move tool. I've clicked on move tool now, and I'm ready to start continuing work with this project. Now I want to show you how we can modify fill and modify opacity. So now I'm going to click and modify the fill. I want you to observe the black color here when I start modifying the fill and the opacity. Now, what is the fill and what is the opacity? In the layers panel, you see that we have here opacity, and below it we have the fill. So I'm going to click on opacity and reduce the opacity. If you look carefully, you discover that it is not as black as it was. I want you to continue to observe this region of the screen. You see it is a bit darker now. Let me increase the opacity a bit. So the opacity is 84% now, and you see the darkness. Then I'm going to make the opacity 100%. You see that it's completely black. Then I'm going to click out and change the fill. the fill is having the same effect too. So depending on what you are doing, the fill and the opacity, they are two different things entirely. And when we start working with text, you understand what I'm talking about. So I'm going to make the fill to be 100% again. Now we want to start working with text. Now to start working with text, I'm going to create a new layer where we are going to insert our text. But Photoshop has a way of creating the layer automatically. But because of the version differences, I'm going to create a new layer by clicking on New Layer button. Then I'm going to click on Text, which is the letter T you are seeing at this region of the screen. I click on Text. So once I click on Text, I'll be able to type alphabets and numbers into my Photoshop document. And I want my text to be at this region, so I have to click here. So I've clicked on this region. Then looking at the top, the text format here, the name of the text is called Tecton Pro. And I know that it's possible you don't have this font on your computer. I believe you should have fonts like Palace Script on your computer. So let me see whether I have Palace Script on this computer. So if I have Palace Script, I'll use it for this tutorial. There's no Palace Script on this computer. Well, we can use Pristina instead of Palace Script. So I will look for Pristina. Pristina is the name of a font. Okay, this is Pristina. So I'm going to click on Pristina. Then I'm going to type marriage, or let's use the word wedding. Wedding. So I've typed the word wedding. Then after typing wedding, I'll go back to my move tool and click, because it is when I click on move tool that I can move the wedding around wherever I want it to be. So I'm going to come here and move my wedding to the appropriate place. Now this wedding is big and I want to insert more text to this region. That is when we now come to the transformation in Photoshop. Photoshop allows you to transform text depending on what you want the text to look like. For instance, to transform this text, I press Ctrl and letter T. It gives me the transform handles. So with this, I can move my mouse to the corner. If I move my mouse to the corner and away from this dot at the bottom right corner, or I move my mouse to the corner on the top right corner away, you will see that the arrow is pointing in a curved dimension. But if I move it closer and move it exactly to the dots, the arrow is pointing diagonally at opposite direction. I'm going to explain the meaning of this. The first thing I want us to do is to press the Shift key. Once we have this dots showing, we are going to press the Shift key and I click on the node at this corner. I click and I drag it in the direction of the down left corner, that is the southwest corner. I drag it in that direction and you discover that wedding is getting smaller. And if I drag it to the top and the right corner, wedding is getting bigger. The same thing happens in CorelDRAW, but in this case, you must hold down the Shift key and drag to have a very perfect aspect ratio. So that is one aspect to it. Then secondly, if you come to the corner and you move your mouse away from it, the arrow will be curved as you are seeing. So if the arrow is curved, you can rotate the text in any dimension you wish to rotate it to. So to get the perfect horizontal line again, I hold on to the shift key and I move it, then it locks into the perfect horizontal line. Then I leave my mouse button and I leave my shift key. So now we have the knowledge of how to transform text, both making it bigger and to rotate the text. So we are going to move this wedding to the top. So I'm going to click and move this wedding to this region. Then I'll press the enter key. I need to press the enter key to confirm that I am through with transforming my text. So that is when I can do any other thing else. If you don't press enter key, Photoshop will not allow you to do any other thing else. So I've pressed the enter key and I want to change the color of wedding into purple. So I'm going to click on text. And once I've clicked on text, I will click on wedding. So I'm going to click on wedding and click on the first letter in wedding and highlight wedding. So I'm going to now, after highlighting wedding, you will see that we have some icons here, and beside this T we are going to have the color well. This color well, when I click on it, it will open a dialog box when I can now choose my purple. So I think purple should be around this area. So, and I can make it deeper depending on what I want. So I click on purple and click on OK. Now if we look at our text, it looks as if nothing has happened, but if I click on it now, you see that we have the purple showing in the work we are doing. So we are going to consider what we discussed on when we were discussing about contrast. This purple is not coming out so clearly because the background is closer to the color we have selected. So we want a color that will create a very sharp contrast. So because of that, we are going to change this wedding into white. So we are going to highlight it again and go to the color well, click and select white. Then I'm going to click on OK. So if we click here now, we see that wedding is white, and still we see that white is very close to the background color, but that's not a problem. We're going to add an effect that will make wedding very clear to see. So we're going to click on our move tool again, and after doing that, we're going to come to the layer of wedding and right click. Then we are going to now select blending options and click. So in the blending options, we are going to allow a drop shadow effect. So you click on drop shadow. Then the drop shadow we want to add in this example, we want it to have an opacity of 100%. We want it to have a size of 10. We want it to have a spread of 5 and a distance of 2. So the size needs to be reduced to 7. Then let's increase the spread to 8. Now you can be wondering, why am I getting these numbers of 8, 2, 7? How am I knowing the right spread, the right distance? When you are working with Photoshop, it gives you a preview of what you are doing, so you can see what you are doing, whether you are satisfied with it or not, before clicking on the OK button at this region. So I think I'm satisfied with what I'm seeing here, so I'm going to click on OK. So I've clicked on OK, and the next thing I want to type is invitation. So I'm going to create a new layer by coming to the layers button and clicking. So this is layer 2. I'm going to type in the invitation. So I'll go to the text button and click. Then I'll click on the black portion here and I will type invitation. But before I type invitation, I want to change my font from Pristina to Arial. So I will scroll and find Arial on my computer. This is Arial. So I click on Arial. Then I type the word invitation, capital I-N-T-A-T-I-O-N. So my invitation is very big, too big, so I want to reduce the size of the invitation. So to reduce the size, the blinking cursor, I click on the blinking cursor and drag to the left to highlight, just as you do in Microsoft Word. Then this is 72 points, which is very big, so I'm going to change this to 24 points, which is smaller. So I'll click on my move tool again. Then I will move this invitation to a more comfortable zone, the place where I want it to be. So I think I'm comfortable with this corner invitation. Now the next thing I want to do is to move wedding closer to invitation. So I'll come here to wedding in the layer of wedding. Then I will now go and click and drag wedding to where I want it to be. So this is wedding. Then I want to move invitation closer to wedding too. I come here and click on invitation. Then I move the invitation to wedding around this region. I think I like it this way. So that is invitation. We are still talking about color and contrast. It's okay if I use gray for invitation because they can clearly see it, but I can use a brighter color for my invitation. So to change the color of invitation, I want to use something like pink. So I'll click on the T, that is the text button, and change the color to something like pink or orange. Let's look at something that will be very interesting. Okay, wedding invitation. Well, I think I like this, what I'm seeing here. I don't know whether you like it, but I like it. So I'm going to click on OK to select this. Now we have here wedding invitation. So I'm going to stop here. I want you to try this. We may continue using this design and make it a more attractive wedding invitation. Put the name of the bride, the name of the groom, the date of the wedding and all other things. But let's stop here for now. I want you to try this, and I know I've already given you the exercise files to work with, and you have these two fonts on your computer. You should be able to try this on your own, and we can then move on to the next class. Thank you very much for having time to enjoy this training. Have a wonderful day. Bye.